Hey, beautiful people. It's Simone Brown from Aspire to Inspire, your parent coach, youth mentor, and speaker. How are you guys doing? I hope you enjoyed the introduction, and I hope you was able to go away and think about the think questions that I left for you. Now, the think questions that I left for you was for you to reflect on your upbringing. How was you brought up? Was it an enjoyable upbringing, an enjoyable childhood? What were some of the values that you could take away, that you have taken away? What do you identify with that was ethnic, culturally, and spiritually highlighted in your upbringing? I'll be interested to find out. Why not just put some comments below in the inbox so I can find out a little bit more, and maybe we can discuss it a bit further. So one of the reasons, well, not one of the reasons, but there are quite a few reasons why parents may decide that they want a parent coach, and they can join a parenting program. There's quite a few. There's Triple P. There is one just for dads. Can't remember the name of it. Terrible Twos. But some of the information that I'm presenting to you today is from one that I'm an advocate of, I'm a facilitator of, and a lot of the things that I'm going to be talking about is part of this program, and it's called Strengthening Families, Strengthening Communities. The reason why I have chosen this model to talk about in alignment to parenting through reflection, because it's just not about strengthening the family. It's also about strengthening our community. But as you know, if charity starts at home, so does strengthening. It starts within your four walls. Now, some of the reasons why parents may decide to go onto a parenting program or request a parent coach is because parents want to be able to navigate through all the confusing advice that they may get from family members, friends, about how they parent their child, and it can be confusing, and especially within my ethnic background, you feel kind of scared to make mistakes. It's not really it's something you're supposed to know in parenting, and you're expected to do it the way that you were taught. Also, parents may want to enhance the effectiveness of methods that they're currently using. So we've heard a lot about the naughty step, time out, reflection time, etc., etc. So parents may want to, reevaluate the effectiveness, or is there anything else that I can do to manage my child's behavior? Also, parents may want to enhance their ability to bring up well-rounded children mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Now, one of the things that I always seem to come across when I'm working with parents is, oh, my child, they're just challenging, they don't listen to me, they're, they like to do their own thing, I'm finding it difficult. And as we go on the journey, the parents actually identify that it's got very little to do with the child, but it has a lot to do with the parents. There are some exceptions to that, but a majority of the time it's to do with the way in which we parent, the way in which we respond to our children as they go through the development stages. And that's something that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the development stages as much as we will be talking about the thinking stages, which we tend not to discuss too much about. Okay, so let's crack on into this. We want to talk about the ethnic, cultural, and spiritual roots. And when we talk about the ethnic, cultural, and spiritual roots, what we're actually saying is that your ethnicity, the way that you do things, which is culture, and your spiritual roots is your identity. Right? It's your identity. And the way in which you engage with others will be based upon your ethnic, cultural, and spiritual roots. Now, the reason why it's the bottom building block for success, the ethnic, cultural, and spiritual roots, is because this is a great way in that you embed and help your children to develop within a strong cultural, ethnic, spiritual family unit. So as they grow older, they always have something to come back to. They have a foundation that is built upon a strong floor, right? Not built upon straws, right? Not built on wood, but built on brick, a solid foundation. And that's what we really want for our children. But also, we as adults, we come to a certain point in our life where we're just like, you know what? Who am I? Like, what am I doing? What's my purpose here? And when we do ask ourselves that question, we tend to go back. We go back to the beginning. We go back to mum and dad. We go back to how we were brought up, how our family interacted with one another. And I always say to a lot of people, you know what? There are families and there are relations. Like I always used to say, yes, you're my cousin, but we're more like we're related than we are family. Because family kind of gives this sense of a close-knit community. And that's why strengthening families and strengthening communities is a very good parenting program to be on. I'm a huge advocate of it because it was something that I did and it helped to solidify and strengthen my relationship with my son. And I will tell you a bit more about that a bit later. Okay, so your purpose and your identity. Every single ethnicity has its own song. Every ethnic group has its own song, a history, a rich history within each ethnic group. Now, until we sing our songs in harmony, we won't really have world peace because there is still conflict. There's still ethnic conflict. There's still tribal conflict. We won't have peace. So when we take the time out to really understand and value who we are, how we do things, and our faith spiritually, then we become so entrenched in it that we become an example of this. Now, one of the ways in which you can do that is to introduce your children to the traditions and the customs. In our group setting, we have this exercise where we look at traditions and customs. So we pick a topic. So let's just say, for example, pets. And the group is always diverse. So I remember in one of the groups that I had a Japanese lady, I had a Chinese lady, I had some ladies from Lebanon, from Pakistan, from Senegal. So it was a very, very mixed group. Okay. Now, when it came to us talking about pets, and sorry, I had some English people in the group as well. And when it came to talking about English, white, British parents in the group, when it came to talking about pets, there was so much different cultural perceptions around having a pet. Oh no, they're filthy, they're disgusting. Oh no, but we love them. We, this is part of our household. We treat it like it's in, another part of our household. So, and it was so nice that we could share culturally our traditions and customs free from judgment and free from bias, opinions and stereotypes. So if you didn't really understand why most British people do love dogs, you could understand it now. You could understand that culturally, that's just the way that they do things, okay? So when we're able to talk about our traditions and customs, we talk about it with so much pride. Sometimes pride isn't there. Sometimes it might be a bit of embarrassment, a bit of shame. And what also comes out of this sharing our traditions and customs is the similarities that we have. And as a parent coach, as a facilitator, I don't highlight this. The group always come to that realization at the end. Actually, we kind of do things the same, especially when it comes to grief or what's the best way to greet. So for example, with my children, culturally, the way that I've been brought up is that my children will speak to an adult and that adult is called auntie or uncle. We don't call you by your first name. So that's something that I valued from my upbringing, and it's something that my children do because it's a value, it's a sign of respect. So when we talk about greetings, gestures, how we view the sun and the moon, or how we dress our dressing customs. But we also look at traditionally and our traditions and customs around gender roles. So within the African culture, gender roles, the man is the provider and the woman does X, Y, and Z. Whereas in other ethnicities, that may not be the case. But again, we have this conversation around traditions and customs. And the more that we talk about our traditions and customs, we either become aware now of why they're there and we begin to value them. Or actually, we talk about them and think, I don't even know why we do that. And why am I even still doing it? And you might decide to get rid of it. You might decide to no longer do that. And this is where having this foundation, your ethnic, cultural, and spiritual roots foundation, is so important. And even if we move to the spiritual roots, some of us may not be spiritual or religious, let's say. But you might be somebody who gets a sense of hope and has increase of faith, seeing a rainbow, or maybe hearing thunder, or maybe the way that the wind blows. It might do something to you. It might stir up something inside of you, and it may make you feel good. That's a sense of spirituality, a connection to nature. For me, it's God. It's Yahweh. For others, it may be Allah, Prophet Muhammad. And Allah is another term for God. But for every single person has something different. Other people thrive in nature. They feel so spiritually connected in nature. But whatever it is, I want you to embrace that. And don't shy away from it. Your ethnicity. I am a proud Black, African, Caribbean woman of the African diaspora. I have so much heritage that I want to impart, that I do impart to my children. Culturally, I love the way that, we prepare food. I love the way that when music is on, we just come alive. We just express ourselves through the beats of the drum. I love it how when we all get together, we're just loud and laughing, and it's just so much energy, so much passion, so much fire. I love that about my culture. And I also love the strength and the faith that I draw from God, because I see how it's helped my mum, how it's shaped my mum. And sometimes what happens is that we may, because of our upbringing, we may force our ethnicity. You can't get away from your ethnicity. You can't, right? We may force our culture. We may force our spirituality upon our children, but they will not build any value from it. The way that they learn to value who they are ethnically, culturally, and spiritually is the way in which we embrace it ourselves and present it. So I hope I've given you something to think about when it comes to the ethnic, cultural, and spiritual roots. I hope you do go back and you really do think, you know what? I'm going to find out a bit more about my country. I had a lovely lady in my class and she was from Yemen. And one of the things that we do in the parent group is we do parent sharing. So you would bring something either from your ethnic, cultural, and spiritual roots, and you would talk about it. You may share the food or share the story, whatever it is, but it had to be something from your ethnic, cultural, and spiritual roots. And I remember her saying, yeah, well, there's nothing that I can bring from Yemen. There's nothing I can bring from Yemen. So my son's just calling me. 1 second, son. There's nothing that I can bring from Yemen. But over the course of the weeks, the more that she saw parents sharing and parents, being proud of what they were presenting. It could have been coffee. It may have been a dish that they baked, which was something that they did, as a part of a family reunion. She saw this and she said, actually, I do have something that I want to bring from Yemen. You know, I kind of forgot about Yemen culture because I've been living in England for so long. However, actually, I'm going to bring something. So I would really want you guys to really think about, you know, ethnically, how do I represent, and, you know, culturally, how do I represent spiritually? Because it's so important. It's so, so important that we have that connection to who we are. Because once we have that connection to who we are able to impart this experience, this knowledge, this passion, this pride to our children. Despite what the world wants to say about who we are ethnically, culturally, and spiritually, despite it, what we impart to our children, that they will feel the passion that we have. So that is the end of the ethnic culture and spiritual roots. So my think question for you today is to really go back, if you didn't do it the first time, and to reflect on how you show up ethnically, culturally, and spiritually. But not only that, I want you to also think about how you model. If you have children, do they imitate your behavior? Just look at your children and observe to see if they imitate your behavior. And make notes, because it may not be that good. My name is Simone of Aspire to Inspire, parent coach, youth mentor, and speaker. I'll see you on the next episode. Take care.